Hello, hello, hello. This is Juhl Lenard. Welcome to Lunch with Juhl, where I help make marketing make sense. Today, we're going to talk about the one thing you must do before you get a website, before you hire somebody to build a website, before you go to Wix or GoDaddy. You need to consider three things. And that's what we're going to cover in this video. And actually, I'm going to be doing a webinar in a week or so just on the basics of setting up the infrastructure for businesses, because I think that's an area that really could use some help. So let's get into the content. So first of all, what is a domain name? That is what you need to have. You must have, before you go to a website developer, before you start setting up stuff in Wix, you need to decide how you want to engage with your website, or kind of like, I'm not really saying it's the best way, but it's kind of like you have to make a strategic decision on where your website is going to be hosted and how you want to show up. So, and you'll understand more when I get into the content. So why even a website? Let's just talk about that for a minute. Or what is it? So when we say website, what we're really referring to is your URL, which stands for Uniform Resource Locator. So basically, it's like if you want to move into the neighborhood of the internet, you have to have an address. And so your URL is your address. It's your location where people can find you on the internet. And you can have several. You can have much real estate on the internet, right? It's up to you. Whatever you want to use a URL for, whatever you want to have a website, you can have a domain name as long as it's available, right? So that's the first thing you need to know, that your website is your it's your address on the internet. So now you say, so the decision that you have to make is related to which domain registrar you go with, that decision, because depending on the decision that you make up front, you could have some limitations if you decide to expand your website or to do different things. So let's talk about why that would be. So there are some domain registrars who offer you the ability to do your own website, okay, and to set everything up yourself. This would be, for example, like GoDaddy or Wix or something like that, right? And that's a great alternative if you're kind of inclined that way. You want to do your own website. You don't necessarily have, resources to pay someone else to do it. It's definitely a good option. What you need to know, though, is that when you set up your website with a Wix or GoDaddy or someplace like that, where you kind of get that all-in-one thing, you have to be careful, because what they do is they kind of lock down your site. So say you do your website to begin with, and you're like, oh, okay, that looks good for now. And you evolve, as all business owners do. You evolve, and you want to have a better website, a bigger website, a more, a more active website, or you just want to have somebody else do it professionally because you did it on a shoestring when you first got started. And now you're booming, and you want to have like a nice professional website done, right? When you go with someone like a Wix or GoDaddy, they lock down your site so that you can't do things like, not very easily, where you can't do things that involve the domain, like, say, for example, your email. Well, let me back up. You can do them as long as you pay for the process or the product that they have. But if you want to go to a web developer and have them set up a website for you, where they set up maybe some integrations and some automations, some other things that you may need, you're going to run into a problem, and you'll have to upgrade your program with that registrar before your web developer can do anything. So that's going to be additional money for you, which it might work out. It might be perfectly fine. You might be okay with setting up your website initially yourself, and then setting up a new domain later on to be able to do different things. And that's okay. It's just you need to have an awareness to know, okay, that's what's going to happen. Because I've had a couple clients where they had their domain name, but they liked their website the way it was, but we wanted to set up some integrations, and that domain name was pretty much on, like something simple like adding chatbots and pop-ups, and they would have had to upgrade their program in order to do that. So what we wound up doing is getting a new domain. So that's an option as well. You may want to do a new domain, because if you do a new domain, you can always redirect your traffic to the new one. So that's an option. But just an awareness to know you are going to have some initial limitations. So your web developer is not pulling your leg when they say they really can't do something and you need to upgrade. It's true if you go with those guys. Now, if you're just going straight, you're having a web developer work with you, perfect, but there's a caution. Okay. So the caution is that you want to always, always, always purchase your own domain name. Okay. Do not have your developer purchase your domain name. Why? Because when they purchase your domain name, they own your domain name. So as long as you're all happy and lovey-dovey with your web developer, you're cool. But if for some reason you want to work with somebody else and your domain name belongs to somebody else, you're basically going to be held hostage, okay? Because they own it. They own your domain name. So if you want to take your website somewhere else, you're going to have to do some negotiation. They may want to charge you to do that. But so the simple way to avoid that altogether is to purchase your own domain name. It's not complicated. You just pick a register. I use Cloudflare. I use HostGator for most of my stuff, which I'm not 100% happy with, but they've been working pretty good for me lately. And also Namecheap is one that I've used before. So if you use one of those types of places and just buy your domain, then you'll have the flexibility to let a developer work on it for you and still own your domain. So if you want to go somewhere else, you don't have to give up your domain and your brand that you've been building up just because you don't want to work with that person anymore. Okay. And then my third point on this one thing that you need is that you want to, I know it's extra money, but you want to go ahead and get the domain privacy and domain lock protection. You want to go ahead and get those. Why? Because one is there is a master register of all domains called Whois, and your address will be right there for the world to see. So unless you want, if everybody loves you, that's cool. You can just, no problem. But I don't know who you might want to show up at your door. You might not want certain people to show up at your door. So you always want to pay that extra $15 or whatever it is and get the domain privacy. And that way it registers your domain with the company that you purchased it from, their name instead of your name. And so nobody can just go out there and be like, oh, I think I'm gonna go visit Juhl today. The other thing is that sometimes people can transfer your domain. If you don't lock your domain, sometimes people can transfer your domain without your permission, right? Now this works out well if you're transferring to a different web developer and the web developer knows how to do it and they just transfer it over and that's what you want them to do. But it is not a good situation if you don't want your domain to be transferred, because then again your domain can be held hostage and then you have to pay a lot of money to get your domain. And this is especially important to me now because so many people are going out on the internet. So many new businesses are launching that, there are a lot of URLs that are out there. And sometimes you want, I personally, my old name, I couldn't get my domain for my old name. It went from 2001 year to 14,000, a few years later. So you definitely want to do that. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful for you. So the one thing you must do before you get a website is to purchase your own domain. Purchase your own domain. Do not let the web developer purchase it. Do not let your friends purchase it. Purchase your own domain so they will be in your name on your credit card. So whatever you want to do with it, you can do. Okay. And so to purchase your own domain name, make sure to get domain privacy lock and domain lock. And that's it. So, and then you can feel free to, you can either develop it yourself or you can go to someone else and have them do it. But at the end of the day, you'll own your domain name. So hopefully that was helpful for you. If it's helpful for you, then definitely share the video. I love when people share my videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to text the number below, 248-988-9099, and I'm happy to help. So this has been Lunch with Juhl, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.